I don't know how much of this I could take. We're now going on back-to-back years where the NBA Finals has been trash. I'm just gonna keep it a bean. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with my audience. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm your host Gabos, and we just gonna vent. The Mavericks versus Celtics. I had Mavericks in 6. I was looking forward to this series. I thought it would have been a great matchup. Boston Celtics returning back to the finals after losing to Steph Curry just a few years ago. That team fully loaded, and now you have this new rising star, face of the league, potentially in Luka, teaming up with Kyrie, and now we got a little battle. We got a team in the Boston Celtics who every year they're within a game or two of making it to the NBA Finals. Now they're here, now they're up 3-0, and this is probably one of the worst finals I've seen in years, and I didn't think it could get any worse than last year's NBA Finals between the Heat and the Denver Nuggets, but heck, at least Jimmy won one. You know what I'm saying? At least Jimmy was able to bring in a 5 just to die in game 5 in Denver. This looks like a sweep. This series is done. Kyrie down 3-0 in the series. He doesn't have LeBron as his running mate, so the odds of a comeback is just slim to none. And again, another stinker. For what it's worth, I don't even think the Mavericks should have beat the Timberwolves, but Microphone gonna get right into it because not only are the Mavericks getting dismantled, but the Boston Celtics are picking on Luka on defense, bro. It is ugly work.
The Boston Celtics are 1 win away from an NBA title. They hold off a furious comeback attempt and now have a 3-0 lead here in these NBA Finals. 10 straight wins by Boston.
Typically, each and every year for the NBA Finals, I will make a Finals recap after each and every game. This year, it's been a little bit different. Why? Because I felt like this year's NBA Finals, unfortunately, wasn't a very competitive matchup. I said it in our NBA Finals preview. I originally had the Boston Celtics in 5. And it's nothing against the Dallas Mavericks. I'm a diehard Laker fan, and I hate the Celtics. I don't want the Celtics to win at all whatsoever. And I think Game 3 is the epitome of why I believe the Boston Celtics were inevitably going to be the NBA champions. So before we get to the content, we're making a huge push to 1 million. Like Chuck 1212. What's going on, everybody? One of the biggest memes in the NBA this year is how easy it was for the Boston Celtics to make it to the NBA Finals. But at the same exact time,
bro, I think they lost like what, 19 games?
Even if each and every single team
17, something like that,
healthy, chances were that the Boston Celtics were going to make it to the NBA Finals. This isn't the same Boston Celtics team from years past. Over the offseason, they swung a huge trade, completely altering the fiber of this team, trading one of their fan favorites in Marcus Smart, and also adding Mike Muscala and Danilo Gallinari to the mix with the 35th pick in the 2023 NBA draft in order to receive Kristaps Porzingis, a top 4 protected Golden State Warriors 2024 first round pick, and the number 25 pick in the 2023 NBA draft. Once that was done, many fans were saying that the Boston Celtics
True Holiday was the biggest trade though.
Defensively, they weren't going to be as dominant as they were in years past. Right after the Milwaukee Bucks traded Drew Holiday to the Portland Trailblazers, the Boston Celtics struck again, trading Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, the same Golden State Warriors first round pick, and a 2029 unprotected first round pick in order to get their two-way guard.
So hold on. So the Bucks weren't going to give the Boston Celtics True Holiday, so they shipped them to the Trailblazers just for the Trailblazers to take a bundle of a deal from Boston. So I don't know why the Bucks didn't keep True Holiday or re-sign him. I didn't hear anything about him not wanting to play with Giannis and Middleton anymore. But that was a straw that broke the camel's back. Like, I get not wanting to give your rivals, your competition, one of the best two-way point guards in the league, but they ended up getting him anyway. And it's like, yo, Drew Holiday on Boston just made them so OP, man.
I say that the Dallas Mavericks didn't make a bunch of incredible moves to improve their own team, like drafting Derek Lively in the NBA draft this past year, or attempting to plug in Grant Williams by trading for him before deciding to trade him during the trade deadline. They snuck a great deal to bring in Daniel Gafford. They traded for PJ Washington. The Dallas Mavericks seem to have finally been able to assemble the perfect team around Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. They're definitely trending upward, and each and every year, Luka Doncic is getting closer and closer to hoisting up that Larry O'Brien trophy. The problem is, it's a completely different animal than the Boston Celtics. The reason why I was so confident that the Boston Celtics were going to win this series in 5, and it could be even sooner at this point, is a mixture of one, their experience, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, and Al Horford.
I ain't gonna front. I think Jaylen Brown and Tatum are the best two-way players. I think they're what Kawhi and PG was supposed to be in LA, but like these guys are just healthy. You know what I mean? I think they're the best two-way starting, like, you know what I mean? Like, just what is Tatum? A small forward, and Jalen's probably the shooting guard? Like, it's technically a backcourt.
All have extensive experience playing deep into the playoffs and in the NBA Finals. But in addition to that, the Dallas Mavericks aren't nearly as deep as the Boston Celtics were. The Boston Celtics came into this matchup the best offense in the NBA and also a top 3 defense in the NBA. And that's the main reason I felt so confident that even if each and every team in the East was healthy, the Celtics would still win. Because not only did the Celtics have an easy path to the NBA Finals, which they did, Jimmy Butler being injured in the first round, Donovan Mitchell getting injured in the second round, Tyrese Halliburton getting injured in the Eastern Conference Finals definitely makes things significantly easier. But regardless, even if everyone was fully healthy, the Celtics would have been more than capable of being able to defeat each and every single one of those teams. And it's because it's a different team this year. There's many ways that this
a better
team will beat you. You saw that within the first 2 games of this series. In game 1 and 2, Kristaps Porzingis came out with a vengeance. Tingus Pingus dropped 20 points off of 8 of 13 shooting and had 3 blocks in his return for the Boston Celtics in game 1. And then in game 2, he still dropped 12 points and had 2 blocks off of 4 of 7 shooting. But the Dallas Mavericks had a glimmer of hope for game 3. Kristaps Porzingis was injured. Dallas Mavericks finally got to play in front of their home crowd.
Didn't make a
Surely
difference.
they would be able to finally get a victory. But that's when you truly realize how deep this team is. I mean, once again, the Celtics have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday. Sometimes Derek White goes off. Sometimes Al Horford might turn back the clock, but if he doesn't, it's okay because he's primarily there as a defensive enforcer. On top of that, Joe Mazzulla is just getting progressively funnier. Do you remember when Joe Mazzulla was asked about the royal family and he said this?
Question, did you get a chance to meet with the royal family? And if not, how was it like having them there in the building?
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph?
The Prince and Princess of Wales.
Oh, no, I did not. I'm only familiar with one royal family.
Nah, I'm saying, you're not from the UK.
He completely kicked this one reporter's ass who was trying to race bait him by pretty much taking the same approach.
For the first time since 1975, this is the NBA Finals where you have 2 black head coaches. Given the plight sometimes of black head coaches in the NBA, do you think this is a significant moment? Do you take pride in this? How do you view this, or do you not see it at all?
I wonder how many of those have been Christian coaches.
Word, stupid. Like, stop trying to, like, listen, man, it doesn't matter that we're black. Like, I wonder how many of them are Christian. That's a great clapback. From one, like, for a head coach, bro, this man is as NPC as it gets, man. This nigga look like one of them, he look like one of them fans from 2K that be standing in the background. My dude is basic. He got some basic features, man.
David Aldridge?
Now, jokes aside, let's talk about the actual game, shall we? This game started out with the Dallas Mavericks actually opening up with a huge run. At one point, even leading by 12, 21-9 in the very
hell bit me.
game. Boston would very shortly close the gap to the point where they were actually dominating the Dallas Mavericks. By the end of the third quarter, the Boston Celtics were up by 15 points on the Dallas Mavericks. But then we would get one of the craziest fourth quarters that I think I have ever seen in NBA history. The Dallas Mavericks would go on a 22-2 run against the Boston Celtics, eventually coming back and only being down by 3 points against the Celtics. And then there was a series of poor decision making. There were some controversial calls made here, primarily the Luka Doncic blocking foul that was called in the midst of this comeback. And to be honest, this is speaking as a guy that is rooting for the Dallas Mavericks because I don't want the Celtics to win as a Laker fan, but I have to admit the entire series of events here was just so off from multiple levels. I mean, Luka Doncic had 5 fouls when he decided to take charge on Jaylen Brown. I don't know if he thought that because of the narrative currently in the NBA Finals, the fact that the Mavericks are down 0-2 and the NBA would never want Luka Doncic to get fouled out while the Dallas Mavericks are trying to make a comeback. Maybe he's bulletproof to this scenario where they call a blocking foul against him. And while I could understand the philosophy there, the blocking foul here was so egregious that I think depending on that is crazy to begin with. I mean, you should not be taking charges at all whatsoever
when you got
have
5.
5 fouls.
Come on, yeah, like
to go of game 3 of the NBA Finals in a must-win game for you. That was a horrible decision, but another horrible decision was the fact that Jason Kidd decided to challenge this foul and not the previous foul that was called, essentially throwing a Hail Mary and hoping to get PI over here. They're hoping that the refs would make the wrong call here, which is absolutely insane if you think about it. And at the same time, I can understand
that's not a charge.
hindsight's 2020. Maybe Jason Kidd felt like, hey, I'm gonna hold this last challenge in my pocket just in case. But in any case, this is more of a failure from Luka Doncic's end. So here's what Luka Doncic had to say about the entire incident.
Couldn't play physical, so I don't know. I don't want to say nothing, but 6 foul in the NBA Finals, where basically like this. Come on, man. Better than
foul that was called on the Mavericks, I could actually agree being a poor foul. PJ Washington was called for a moving screen, which personally I don't think it's a foul, but you can't challenge this foul anymore. The Mavericks were placed in a bad situation to begin with here. But even if that shouldn't have been
he's moving though.
This is something you call a moving screen on. Regardless, man.
Look, his foot is not even set.
Over and over again.
Nah, I'd call that.
I said it coming into the season, and I said it throughout the playoffs. The Boston Celtics are the most complete team in the NBA. They're the deepest team in the NBA. They made the best roster transactions to get to the point that they're in the NBA. They deserve to be up 3-0 in this series. And honestly, just look at how well the Boston Celtics did in game 3, and you'd really understand how deep this team is. I mean, Jaylen Brown went 12 of 22 from the field for 30 points. Jason Tatum went 11 of 26 from the field for 31 points.
Full team.
Had 16 points. Al Horford had 8 points. Drew Holiday had 9 points. Xavier Tillman literally had 3 points, but it was a corner 3. And that was so disrespectful. Sam Hauser went 3 of 4 and had 9 points. And this isn't to say that the Dallas Mavericks are bad or anything. I mean, the road that the Mavericks took to get here is absolute insanity. They had to take down the Los Angeles Clippers, which were deemed as a super team in the first round. They were able to do that in 6 games. Then they took on the #1 seed in the entire Western Conference and beat the OKC Thunder in 6 games. Then they took on one of the best defenses in the entire NBA in the Minnesota Timberwolves, and were able to.
And the crazy thing is, y'all, I still think OKC, the Timberwolves, would have did better than being down 0-3. I don't think OKC or the Wolves go down 0-3 to Boston. It's hindsight 2020. I just don't see Ant going down 0-3 to the Boston Celtics with the defense that they play. Same thing with SGA.
The problem isn't Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. It's the lack of involvement from the
These
Dallas
bums!
Mavericks role players. Maxi Kleber had 0 points in this game. Maxi Kleber is known for taking open threes, but for some reason in the NBA Finals, this man is terrified of shooting an open 3. The Mavericks were so desperate for bench help that they decided to unleash Tim Hardaway Jr. They gave this man 19 minutes in this particular game, and he had 0 points. He went 0 for 5. I can't hold it against any of these players for not being able to do well, because you're going up against a top 3 defense and one of the top offenses in the entire NBA.
So y'all don't play ball though?
Stacked. So I don't blame them for not being able to succeed here. It actually makes a lot of sense. It's why I've said multiple times in this video that even if the entire East was fully healthy, the Boston Celtics would have made it to the NBA Finals anyway. They're just that good. But you know who else played for the Boston Celtics? Jesus. Okay, maybe not Jesus, but Kendrick Perkins, who also may have compared himself to Jesus once LeBron James unfollowed him. It is by far, we made a video earlier today on one of the most unhinged episodes ever aired on ESPN. I'll meet you guys over there, and I'm gonna leave a link to it in the end screen. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.
Appreciate you, Mike. It is what it is. Boston Celtics clearly are the best team in the NBA. Trevor Lawrence just got paid? Damn. Yeah. So Boston Celtics are clearly the best team in the NBA. They deserve to be here. They paid their dues. They've lost finals. They've lost Eastern Conference Finals, and now it's just their time. And the basketball gods are rewarding them with, I don't know what happened to the Mavericks, but they're just rewarding them with the Mavericks who can't stop them. You know what I mean? Like, especially if Luka's out here catching 6 fouls, like having 5 fouls and still setting his feet up. Like, just the notion of you trying to set your feet on someone you're guarding. I've always hated that. Like, the charge should go to the help. If you're guarding someone one-on-one, why are you trying to take the charge? Play D. I don't know, man. What do I know? I don't coach basketball, but it looks like the Boston Celtics are 1 game away from being the 2024 NBA champions, and they deserve it, bro. For real. I'm out.